Hey guys, Ilya here, and this time we're talking about the new American Tier 8 Premium Light Tank, T92. And the first thing that you notice when you play this tank is probably not the view range, not the Camel, max speed. It's only 60. And you think, well, 60 is so little, it's just not competitive with other light tanks. You know, you meet a lot of tier 8, 9, 10 lights and they all drive like 70 or something like that, and your 60 just looks so little. But you have a lot of horses per ton, you have 35 horses per ton. TanksGG has all the information. TanksGG says it has 20. No, in the garage it says 35. And you have fantastic ground resistances. Like 0.3 on hard terrain, 0.4 on medium terrain, and that means that your acceleration is like instant. You press W, you drive 60, and because of that you don't really feel so horribly. Like 60 is still not fantastic, it's still not lightning, but it's not really very slow. And in terms of turning, well, this tank turns slightly slower than you would want it to turn, but it's not tragic. You get used to that after a pair of battles. It's not like French lights. It's acceptable. So, in terms of mobility, it's just okay. It's not super outstanding, it's not really bad, it's fine. Now, the next thing we will look at is the view range and camo balance. And that is where T92 is totally shining. Well, you see right now I'm standing basically inside the enemy territory and I don't really care, they don't see me. That's because this tank has over 38% camo, which is top class camo, which is camo of French lights. But unlike French lights, which are blind, this one has view range as well. This tank has 400 meters base view range, which means that it outspots, in combination with that camo, it outspots all lights in the game except T-100. It outspots even Panzerwagen with optics. It outspots AMX 13105. Especially if you install ventilation in this tank. And, well, since we talk about ventilation, I guess I should mention the gun of this tank. So all these spotting abilities are kinda compensated by the gun. The gun is not terrible, it has really good strong sights such as shell velocity, which is even slightly better than of tier 10 light tanks. It's over 1200 on standard APCR. But just like all other tier 8 lights, we have low penetration, it's like 175. And what is worse, we have really bad alpha damage of 150. So whoever you meet has a lot more alpha than you, like everyone has 180, 240, 300, 400 alpha, and you're like, 150. But it's not terrible because you have, in addition to fantastic shell velocity, you also have fantastic gun handling. Actually, your gun handling is so good that you don't need to carry vertical stabilizers in it. Swap them for ventilation and you are even better scout, like totally fantastic. You don't need vertical stabilizer. It's just great. You won't deal massive amounts of damage most of the time, but tier 8 lights are not really meant to deal a lot of damage. And yeah, this tank has also gold rounds, but hey, they are totally useless because they penetrate like 210. It's not a huge upgrade from 175. And, well, they cost a lot, they cost a fortune, so for your little 150 alpha, you'll pay like 5,000 credits per shot. I'll tell you what, I haven't fired a single gold round in 50 battles in this tank. You just don't need them at all, like, you can unload them all. And I also carry several high explosives just because I thought I want to keep enemies tracked easier, but there is another downside of this tank. It's hard to keep enemy tracked with such a low caliber gun. Like, you shoot the enemy's track and you don't break it. You need 2 shots to destroy enemy's track, always. And even high explosives don't help there too much. So you have a gun which is like of tier 7.5 maybe. It is slightly weaker than of other tier 8 lights, but then it's kinda similar to LTTB's gun. you know, good gun handling, low penetration, but all tier 8 lights have low penetration. That's something you should expect, and that's something you'll have to play with if you get this tank. So tier 8 light really means that you'll have to play more as a light tank, as a scout, not for damaging. But you're not helpless, and if you see some tier 8, tier 7 tanks, you can be quite a threat to them too. So don't underestimate your firepower. Even though it's not great, try to keep some distance to the enemy, you know, at mid-range. Don't engage in close combat, but at mid-range, your gun handling will make the day for you. In combination with actually standard for American lights 10 degrees of gun depression, which is nice, which is strange for this tank, you know, it looks really weird, but you really have 10 degrees of gun depression, which is also great, so you can work over ridge lines, and in combination with gun handling and shell velocity, you can really make sure that you put many shots into the enemy. You also have a lot of ammo, so you will never run out of ammo. You can split your ammo the way you want, although I recommend that you don't take many gold rounds, they are useless, but as you can see I carry a lot of high explosives. They're actually pretty useless as well, but you will never run out of ammo, even if you deal some massive amounts of damage for a tier 8 light, maybe like over 3000 damage, which is a lot, and it will require you to make a lot of shots. There is little trouble with this tank, and the trouble is in its engine. The engine has very few hit points, and because of that, every shot, or almost every shot in the hull of the tank, kills the engine. But as far as I heard, it wasn't intended, and Wargaming are aware of this problem, and they're going to fix this in the next micro patch. So don't look at that. It could be some trouble now, but then in a few days I think they are going to fix this, and it shouldn't bother you so much anymore. Since we're talking about the premium tank, we should also talk about the crew and the credit making. First, the crew is entirely compatible with T-49 and Sheridan, which is great. This little thing has 4 crew members. I don't know how they're packed in there. I guess they are all bent over or something. It's really small, I don't know where they all sit there, but 4 crew members, that's great. And in terms of making credits, well, it's not really great at that thing, because, well, you really have to carry Cola because you're a light tank. Light tank really has to do that because Cola is basically half optics plus a bit of camo, and you know, it's really necessary for light. And you make around, well, 45,000 credits, 50,000 credits pure profit with premium account per battle. For comparison, Lorraine does like 60,000-70,000 credits, so you can say that this tank does like 15,000-20,000 less credits per battle, but it still makes quite some credits. And if you just enjoy this tank as much as I enjoyed, then you just play it and play it and play it, you still make credits, and you have fun, because, you know, light tanks are not so much dependent on the tier of battle they are in, because even if you're a bottom tier, there are some paper targets around, and you can do some scouting as well. You know, life is not so bad. If you're a bottom tier in a heavy tank, it's really a bit sad if some Type 5 heavy or E100 or I7 bully you, but this shouldn't be the case for T92, especially because T92 outspots all other light tanks except T100. So you can actually be a threat to higher tier light tanks. So I believe T92 is an example of a perfectly balanced tank. It's a really strong scout, but at the same time it's a bit slowish to get to the riskiest bushes, to the bushes on the very front line. It has some problems with the gun, but at the same time the gun is so comfortable. So this tank has clear advantages which you can use to be effective on the battlefield, and it has clear disadvantages which don't destroy your gameplay entirely, which don't really ruin your gameplay in this tank. So personally, as a scouting lover, I really enjoy this tank. If you are more into damaging in lights, then I probably don't recommend it to you. But if you also want to train your scouting skills, then this tank will be very forgiving to you, because it's very small, it is invisible, and it has a lot of view range. So you will learn to scout effectively in this tank. And you will just make credits on the way, which is always nice, because lights are usually very credit consuming because of cola and other food stuff. So if you enjoyed this video, then go eat a cookie, and see you in the next videos, guys.